In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NBA games happening on March 8, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. The Boston Celtics head to Rocket Arena on Sunday afternoon to face the Cleveland Cavaliers, a matchup that already feels pretty familiar this season. Boston comes in off a strong win over the Mavs, a stumble against the Hornets, and a look ahead to the Spurs, but the bigger story is that it has taken 17 of its past 23 games. Cleveland has handled business too, taking recent wins over the Nets and Pistons with a meeting against the 76ers on deck, and it has rattled off 10 wins in its past 13. The Celtics are a bit thin in the front court with Nikola Vucevic out due to a right ring finger fracture, while the Cavaliers are missing Jarrett Allen and Max Strus, and have Jalen Tyson listed as questionable. That is not a full-strength scenario for either side, but Boston is much closer to its preferred version. Jason Tatum's return on Friday changes the entire feel of this team, and his season debut against Dallas showed enough to suggest he is already close to himself again. Boston blasted Dallas 120-100 as a heavy favorite, which fits with how dominant this group can look when its main pieces share the floor. Tatum put up 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists with 3 three-pointers in that win, and that kind of all-around line gives everyone around him a little extra confidence. Center Neemias Queta added 16 points and 15 rebounds with a block, giving Boston some unexpected punch in the middle and hinting that the front court can hang in there even without Vucevic. Cleveland's latest outing was a 113-109 home win over Detroit, taken as a slight underdog even with Donovan Mitchell still sidelined by a groin issue. Jalen Tyson answered the call in that spot with 22 points, 5 three-pointers, and 2 blocked shots, which kept the offense afloat while the star guard watched. To get past Boston with Tatum back, though Cleveland realistically needs Mitchell in uniform, and even then recent history suggests this matchup is not exactly friendly for the Cavs. Boston has already taken both meetings with Cleveland this season, including a tight 117-115 win on the road on November 30th, in which it came in as a big underdog. Stretch the view out, and the Celtics have captured 7 of the past 8 meetings while covering in 3 of the past 4, so it is fair to say they have had the Cavs figured out lately. The return of Tatum is massive in that context, and he already looked sharp in that first outing back, even if he was still feeling his way into a rhythm. Mitchell is expected to return for Cleveland, which gives the Cavs a needed shot creation boost, but the absence of Allen in the middle still looms large and will be felt on the boards and in rim protection. At or near full strength, Boston has a real claim as the best team in the East, and it has 21 road wins to back up the idea that its game travels. Honestly, when a team can walk into hostile gyms that often and still dictate terms, it tends to matter more than people admit. Recent results against this opponent only reinforce that feeling, with the Celtics grabbing 7 of the last 9 meetings with Cleveland and generally playing with a higher ceiling when the stakes feel a bit bigger. Cleveland does get the natural nudge from playing at home, and Rocket Arena can be a lively place when Mitchell is rolling, but Boston looks far too strong to ignore in a spot like this with Tatum back and most of the rotation intact. Why step in front of that when the matchup has tilted their way for so long? As our first pick for this matchup, the Boston Celtics to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Celtics are averaging 114.6 points on 46.6% shooting and allowing 107 points on 44% shooting. They are hitting 36.3% from beyond the arc and 79.4% from the free throw line, and they are grabbing 46.4 rebounds per game, which quietly limits second chance chances and keeps games from turning into constant run and gun stretches. The Cavaliers are averaging 119.1 points on 47.6% shooting and allowing 114.9 points on 46.2% shooting. They are shooting 36% from beyond the arc and 77.8% from the free throw line, and they are grabbing 44.4 rebounds per game, which points to a slightly more open style with a bit more scoring variance. Recent meetings between these teams have not exactly turned into all offense all the time, with both games this season finishing under the number and the under going 4-1 in the past 5 installments in the series. That pattern lines up with what these stats are hinting at, a Boston group that defends at a high level and controls the glass against a Cleveland team that can score but also gives points back. Tatum's return stabilizes Boston's half-court offense but also tightens its defensive structure since he can switch across spots and help on the glass without needing every touch. Mitchell's likely return for Cleveland adds firepower and shot-making, but it also means more possessions where he attacks set defenses instead of constant transition, which can pull the pace back toward more measured trips. Allen's absence in the middle might hint at softer rim protection, yet it can just as easily push Cleveland toward more cautious possessions and more help inside, which often slows the game and turns every trip into a half-court puzzle. Boston's work on the perimeter, allowing 36.1% shooting from deep, combined with Cleveland allowing 37% from outside, suggests that wide-open threes may not come easily for long stretches. When both teams have to grind for decent looks and live off contested jumpers or one-shot possessions, scoring can lag behind what raw offensive talent might suggest. Games like this, with two familiar opponents carrying recent series history and some key pieces working back into form, often turn into more of a chess match than a track meet, especially as the second half tightens and every possession is valued a little more. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Grudge match that has been brewing for years. New York Knicks versus Los Angeles Lakers. The New York Knicks roll into Crypto.com Arena on Sunday to take on the Los Angeles Lakers, and both teams come in with very different kinds of momentum. The Knicks just handled the Nuggets, took a loss to the Thunder, and have the Clippers on deck, yet the big picture is that they have taken 16 of their last 21 games, which tells you how consistent they have been for a while now. The Lakers are in a more up-and-down stretch. They beat the Pacers, fell to the Nuggets, and see the Timberwolves next, with 14 wins in their last 23 games showing a team that is solid but not exactly rolling. New York's rotation is nearly as clean as it has been all season. Miles McBride remains out and is not expected back until the playoffs after core muscle surgery, and Landry Shamet is questionable with a neck sprain, but everyone else is good to go, which is a rare luxury for this group. That kind of stability matters on a long trip, especially for a team that leans on chemistry as much as talent. The Lakers have their own health notes to track. They are watching Maxi Kleber and LeBron James, who are both questionable, even if LeBron often finds a way to suit up. On top of that, Los Angeles is mostly healthy elsewhere, yet the questions around their stars keep hanging over every big matchup. The last time these teams met, back on February 1st, it was the Knicks who controlled things and walked away with a 112-100 win. That result was not a fluke performance out of nowhere. It looked more like an extension of how well New York has been playing for weeks. The Knicks have taken 4 of their last 5 games coming into this one, with the only slip a tight 3-point loss to defending champion Oklahoma City. Their current 5-game road trip could hardly have started better, with that 142-103 demolition of Denver sending a loud message. Karl Anthony Towns kept his double-double streak alive at 5 games by posting 17 points and 13 rebounds, and OG Anunoby exploded for 34 points, which showed that New York can get star-level production from multiple directions when things are clicking. It is not just a hot week either, since the Knicks are 16-5 straight up in their last 21 overall, and a big part of that surge is that they have rarely been this healthy all season aside from McBride's long-term absence. Los Angeles is not dealing with a full-blown injury crisis, but it is not all smooth sailing. DeAndre Ayton is questionable with a knee problem, and LeBron James is listed as probable with an elbow issue. LeBron's name on the injury report is one thing, his recent production is another. He has been held under his season-long scoring average of 21.4 points per game in 6 of 8 games since the All-Star break, which hints at a star searching for rhythm rather than dominating every night. Ayton, meanwhile, has offered very little in recent weeks, so the Lakers do not exactly feel secure about their interior presence whether he plays or not. The result is a team that has gone 6-6 in its last 12, which feels about right for a group that cannot quite string together a serious run. Honestly, it is tempting on the surface to lean toward the Lakers plus the points here. It is an early tip. They are at home, and they are relatively close to full strength, while the Knicks have already dropped 14 games on the road this season. Home court can still matter, especially in a building that loves a big name like LeBron. Here is the thing though, the Lakers have not just been losing as underdogs, they have been burning tickets. They have failed to cover or win in each of their last 12 games as an underdog. They have not covered a number as a dog since December 14th, which is a long drought for any team that is supposed to be dangerous. Trends are not everything, but fading a team that keeps coming up short in these specific situations is not some wild overreaction. It is simply respecting what has actually been happening. The Knicks, on the flip side, are playing some of the best basketball in the league right now, with their recent form and overall 16-5 run lining up. The Lakers have mostly taken care of weaker opponents while struggling when they step up in class, and the Knicks currently fit in that higher-tier category. With the way New York is executing, the way the roster is finally healthy, and the way Los Angeles keeps stumbling as a dog, the short line here feels more like an invitation to back the hotter, sharper team rather than a trap. As our first pick for this matchup, the New York Knicks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Knicks are averaging 117.2 points on 47.3% shooting while allowing 110.6 points on 45.7% shooting, which already hints at a team that can score efficiently and still give up enough on the other end to keep totals healthy. They are connecting on 37.5% of their three-point attempts and 78.3% from the free throw line, and they are pulling down 46.1 rebounds per game, which creates extra possessions and second chances that tend to fuel higher scores. The Lakers bring their own offensive punch. They are averaging 116 points on 49.9% shooting and allowing 115.3 points on 48.5% shooting. That combination of high field goal percentage on offense and a fairly generous percentage allowed on defense often leads to games where both sides find a rhythm. They are hitting 35.8% from deep and 76.9% at the line, while grabbing 40.9 rebounds per game, so they are more than capable of trading buckets when the pace picks up. Put those numbers together, and you get two teams that can both crack well into triple digits while also giving up enough clean looks to keep things close to a track meet for long stretches. New York's strong work on the glass helps keep possessions alive, and Los Angeles's efficient shooting can turn even ordinary trips into points when the ball moves. Even small lapses on defense can snowball into runs, and with both sides comfortable scoring into the mid-1 teens, it does not take many of those bursts to push a total higher than expected. Honestly, when you have one team regularly living around the high 100 teens and another in that same neighborhood, with both allowing more than 110 points per night, a higher scoring script feels more natural than a grind. If this one settles into a free-flowing rhythm with both offenses leaning into their strengths, the stat lines suggest it has every reason to land on the higher side. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Detroit Pistons versus Miami Heat. The Detroit Pistons head to Kaseya Center on Sunday to face the Miami Heat, and both teams come in carrying very different kinds of momentum. The Pistons are coming off losses to the Nets and Spurs with another matchup against Brooklyn on deck, even though they have still managed to win 17 of their last 24 games overall. The Heat, on the other hand, just beat the Hornets and the Nets, see the Wizards next, and have taken 8 of their last 11, which tells you their rhythm is much better right now. Detroit is not quite at full strength. Ausar Thompson is ruled out again, and Cade Cunningham is day-to-day with a quad bruise, so his status hangs over everything the Pistons want to do on offense. Miami has its own issues, with Norman Powell, Simone Fontecchio, and Nikola Jovic ruled out, and Andrew Wiggins listed as questionable, so the rotation still needs a little juggling even in the middle of this good stretch. These teams have already seen each other twice this season, and each time the road side walked out with the win. That kind of split can make things feel wide open, but the way the Pistons stumble into this one matters a lot. They are playing the second game of a back-to-back after blowing a 23-point lead to the Nets, which can leave both legs and confidence a little shaky, no matter how badly they want to fix it. In contrast, the Heat are trending upward and grabbed a big confidence boost from beating a red-hot Hornets team in their last outing. The Pistons will absolutely be eager to respond after that collapse. Nobody wants that taste hanging around for long, especially a young team trying to prove itself. Still, the schedule and the situation are not doing them any favors. Back-to-backs can sap energy, especially against a team that is currently playing its best basketball of the season. Miami has stacked 4 straight wins, with quality victories over the Rockets and Hornets included in that run, and wins like that tend to reinforce the identity they have been searching for. Tyler Herro looks energized again, and he flat out went off against Charlotte, which is exactly the kind of spark this offense needed. There is still some honest doubt about whether the Heat are truly back, especially if you have been critical of them all year, and that skepticism makes sense. Here is the thing, though, their recent form, their rest advantage, and the comfort of home court all tilt this specific spot in their favor. Even if you are still grading them as a work in progress, this shapes up as a measuring stick game that they should treat very seriously because it says a lot about whether this surge is real or just a nice little run. With Detroit tired, banged up, and trying to recover from a brutal collapse, and Miami rested, confident, and rolling at home, siding with the Heat in this matchup is hard to argue with. As our first pick for this matchup, the Miami Heat to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Detroit Pistons are averaging 117.4 points on 7.9% shooting and allowing 109.5 points on 44% shooting, which paints a picture of a team that can put up numbers but also has some structure on defense. They are shooting 34.9% from beyond the arc and 75.7% from the free throw line, and they are grabbing 46 rebounds per game, giving themselves extra chances on the glass while also limiting second chance opportunities for opponents. They are allowing 34.9% shooting from deep, which is not airtight but is solid enough to avoid a constant three-point barrage. The Miami Heat are averaging 119.9 points on 46.3% shooting and allowing 117.2 points on 45.8% shooting, so their games often feature plenty of scoring swings. They are shooting 36.1% from beyond the arc and 78.5% from the free throw line, and they are grabbing 47.3 rebounds per game, which helps them control tempo when they really lock in. They are allowing 35% shooting from deep, which is close enough to Detroit's number that perimeter looks should be contested more often than not on both ends. On paper, a matchup between an offense in the high 100 teens and another in a similar range looks like it should lean toward a high-scoring affair. However, the context nudges the expectation in a different direction. The Pistons are coming off that draining back-to-back, and tired legs tend to show up first on jump shots, especially from 3, which can drag efficiency down even when pace is decent. At the same time, a team that just blew a 23-point lead often tries to tighten the screws on defense, playing more physically and trying to keep things simple, which can slow the game and turn possessions into harder-fought half-court sets. Miami, with its recent confidence, has the tools to score, but it also has every reason to test whether this new stretch of good form can include more focused defense. With injuries trimming both rotations a bit, there is also a chance that key players log heavier minutes, which can make coaches more comfortable with a slightly slower, more controlled style rather than a track meet. If both sides lean into contested looks, fewer easy transition buckets, and long possessions that end with rebounds rather than quick runouts, the total number of points can stay more muted than those season averages suggest. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Dallas Mavericks versus Toronto Raptors. The Dallas Mavericks head into Scotiabank Arena on Sunday to face the Toronto Raptors in a matchup that looks trickier than it first appears. Dallas comes in off losses to the Magic and Celtics, with the Hawks up next, and that sits on top of a rough stretch in which the Mavs have dropped 16 of their last 18 games. Toronto has not exactly been rolling either, falling to the Knicks and Timberwolves before a date with the Rockets, but winning 10 of its last 18 games still shows a more stable run than what Dallas is dealing with. The Mavericks are still missing Kyrie Irving and Derek Lively II, and they are keeping a close eye on Marvin Bagley III and Cooper Flagg, who are both questionable. That kind of uncertainty around key rotation pieces makes it hard to know which version of this team will show up from night to night. On the other side, the Raptors have ruled out Colin Murray-Boyles, with Brandon Ingram listed as questionable because of an illness, so even though they are not perfectly healthy, they feel a bit more predictable than Dallas at the moment. Dallas has not been quite as bad as the results suggest, which is the frustrating part if you follow this team closely. The Mavs have been plagued by injuries all season, and if Flagg sits again, it just adds another obstacle to any kind of momentum. It is the kind of year where even small pieces missing make the whole puzzle look off. This is a lot of points to be laying with a Raptors team that has had its share of struggles. The Mavericks also have a chance to be as healthy as they have been in weeks if a couple of those questionable tags break their way, and that alone adds a little intrigue. On top of that, the Mavs have won 8 of the last 10 games against the Raptors, so there is a real history edge here that is hard to ignore completely. Even with that history, the current version of Dallas keeps losing and failing to cover, which makes them tough to trust. They have just 7 road wins, and that kind of road record usually tells you a lot about how a group handles adversity away from home. Honestly, that is not the kind of profile that screams reliable underdog, even if the matchup looks tempting on paper. This spot feels like a chance for the Raptors to find their footing again and get back on track in front of their own fans. They have not been at their best lately, but they have been close enough in a few games that you can see the pieces are there. They just need to finish the job. If they do not show up in this game against a struggling opponent that cannot seem to stop the bleeding, it might really be time for them to consider hitting the panic button. The Mavericks just are not appealing right now, and with the way both teams are trending, backing Toronto to take control at home makes the most sense. As our first pick for this matchup, the Toronto Raptors to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Dallas Mavericks are averaging 114.4 points on 47.3% shooting and allowing 117.7 points on 46.8% shooting. The Dallas Mavericks are shooting 34.2% from beyond the arc and 74.5% from the free throw line. The Dallas Mavericks are allowing 34.3% shooting from deep and are grabbing 44.7 rebounds per game, which shows they can finish possessions but still give up plenty on the scoreboard. The Toronto Raptors are averaging 113.6 points on 47.1% shooting and allowing 111.8 points on 46% shooting. The Toronto Raptors are shooting 34.6% from beyond the arc and 78.3% from the free throw line. The Toronto Raptors are allowing 34.7% shooting from deep and are grabbing 43 rebounds per game, which keeps second chance damage from getting out of hand. Those numbers put both offenses in a similar scoring range, with neither side completely explosive nor totally toothless. They also hint that both defenses, while not elite, are capable of forcing tougher looks and limiting easy runs when the focus is there. In a spot like this, with recent form shaky on both sides, there is a good chance that each team leans more on half-court sets and careful possessions rather than turning it into a track meet. Dallas, stuck in a stretch with 16 losses in its last 18 games, is not exactly playing with carefree freedom. Teams in that kind of funk often slow things down a bit and try to avoid mistakes, which naturally pulls totals down. Toronto, even with 10 wins in its last 18, has not been dominating, and a home game like this can encourage a more controlled approach built on defense and selective shot-taking. Injuries and questionable tags for key players on both sides can also disrupt offensive rhythm, leading to stretches where both groups struggle to score cleanly. When rotations are in flux, you see more possessions that end late in the clock and fewer easy transition buckets, which chips away at the overall scoring. Put together, the efficiency numbers, the recent form, and the circumstances around this matchup all point toward a game that is more likely to land on the lower side rather than turning into a free-flowing shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Washington Wizards versus New Orleans Pelicans. This matchup in New Orleans already feels like a beautiful mess. The home team is coming back from a long 6-game journey, dragging a 20-45 record into its own building and trying to prove to the local crowd that the season still means something. Across from them is a visitor sitting at 16-46 that has turned losing into a strange kind of craft, stacking a long skid but still hanging around just enough to frustrate anyone who trusted a big home margin. The story people tell about this game is simple: a tired but talented group at home that is supposedly ready to flex against a struggling traveler that everyone is eager to fade. Look a little deeper though and you see two squads that live in the lower tier of offensive efficiency, playing at a pace that is fast enough to look busy, but not wild enough to create constant blowout separation, so every possession feels like a coin being flipped rather than a machine rolling downhill. When teams like that are asked to win comfortably by a wide margin, the gap between what fans expect and what the roster can actually deliver gets very real, especially late in games when tired legs, odd rotations, and scoreboard pressure kick in. Washington has made a habit of stumbling into those late covers, hanging around when it seems cooked, while New Orleans has built a recent pattern of chaotic fourth quarters after that road swing, with big leads shrinking and momentum flipping at the worst possible moments for anyone holding a heavy favorite ticket. Honestly, that is exactly the kind of environment where the popular side feels safe, but the smarter side is the one that makes you slightly uncomfortable. So if you care more about value than about backing the crowd, there is really only one direction that makes sense for the spread in this spot. As our first pick for this matchup, the Washington Wizards to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. People see two shaky defenses and immediately picture layup lines, no resistance, and a highlight reel pace from start to finish. Yes, the defenses have struggled and the tape backs that up. Possessions where rotations are a step slow and closeouts arrive just a blink too late. Here is the thing though, weak defense by itself does not automatically create a fireworks show. You still need reliable shooting, good spacing, and enough depth to keep quality lineups on the floor after the first wave of subs. These offenses sit in the lower part of the league in terms of efficiency and three-point reliability, so the big projection is asking them to play closer to their very best version rather than the slightly clunky reality we see most nights. Washington comes in with a long list of health concerns that chips away at its scoring punch and rotation comfort, and New Orleans has its own key piece tagged with uncertainty, which raises the chances of shorter benches, more half-court sets, and more minutes for lineups that defend better than they create. Season trends tilt a bit toward higher scoring, and that history has helped push expectations up, but that also means the current number is baking in the most entertaining version of this matchup, while largely ignoring the very real script where travel fatigue, home return legs, and short-handed groups drag the rhythm into something messier and slower. In that quieter script, the game can still feel loose and imperfect while the final tally lands noticeably below what that aggressive projection suggests. So while nothing here is guaranteed, if the pace and shot making settle closer to who these teams actually are rather than who the market wants them to be, the total has more ways to land under the expectation than to soar far above it. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.